Well, welcome in once again, everybody, to another edition of, you can see it on my hat, see it on my shirt, 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. So happy that you decided to join us today for another awesome episode. We've got an awesome guest for you, and you're really going to enjoy the show. Weather here in Las Vegas, getting a little better. It's been strange. We have had snow here in the valley, rain, wind, clouds, cold temperatures, and you got to be nuts to go out and play golf unless you're from Alaska or something, but it's starting to warm up. I may even sneak out on Sunday. It's going to be 65, no wind, so you know what? That's kind of doable. I just want to mention kind of a sad note. Hopefully you remember one of the guys that I used to have on the show. Great guest. He owned a company in Texas called Elite Performance. He was both a mental guy, also taught the physical golf swing. Sean Humphreys was just a terrific guy. I think Sean was probably late 40s, early 50s, I'm guessing. We were planning on having him on the show in a couple of weeks, and I got a phone call the other day from one of his friends that was terrible. Sean passed away from lung cancer. So it was just devastating. The guy was just a great contributor to the game and a great ambassador. So to Sean's family and everybody that knew him, our best, our hearts go out with the greatest amount of condolences. On the other hand, a topic that is getting great amounts of discussion and print, and our guest is very privy to that. You know, the LIV Tour is starting up pretty soon. They go to Mayacopa in Mexico. Then they are going to the Gallery Club in Tucson, Arizona. Then they go to Orlando. They got 14 events this year. And like I have been saying on the show for a long time, they do have television, the CW. A lot of people around the CW are a little bit disturbed about that Nexstar would sign something like that. But hey, I told you they were going to get something. They did. I think it's going to be great. And I am going to the event in Tucson. I'm looking so forward to that, to see my first live LIV event and see what it's all about with the crowds, talk to them, the party atmosphere, the players. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be terrific. We've got a gentleman on who's been on the show before, who is quite familiar with both the PGA Tour workings and the LIV event, as well as other tours. Larry Clayman is a very busy practicing attorney at law, having gotten his JD at the Emory University School of Law. Larry also founded both Judicial Watch and Freedom Watch. He is a former United States Justice Department prosecutor. Larry has filed lawsuits against some very well-known political figures, as well as several governmental agencies as well. Larry describes himself as a modern-day John Adams in a fight for justice, which I think is very cool. Larry has had the experience of running for political office himself. He ran for U.S. Senate. He has authored 3 books and wrote periodical columns for several conservative websites. Larry is engaged in some litigation today that will affect both tour players as well as some very well-known golf organizations. So without further ado, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Larry Clayman. And Larry, I know that you are busy, man, and I want to thank you for taking time out to come on the show, my friend.
Well, it's my pleasure and honor, good friend Dennis. I also have, just to add, a law firm, Clayman Law Group, and that's the law group that has represented Patrick Reed in some defamation litigation. And Freedom Watch, my public interest group, has brought a class action consumer lawsuit against the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, OWGR, and Golf Channel. So
Okay,
I wear a couple hats.
I see that you do, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I want to kick it off, Larry, and ask you this before we get into things. I want to ask you how or why did you pursue the field of law as a living, and what particularly shaped the kind of practice that you're into today?
It's a long story, but I'll keep it short. I actually wrote about it in my autobiography, which was entitled and is entitled Whores, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment. Given the fact that you're in Las Vegas, I don't want to offend the girls on Las Vegas Boulevard. It wasn't about them. They actually provide something of value, but I'm talking about politicians.
Yeah.
I'm talking about judges. I'm talking about our establishment that has so basically harmed this country. And over the years, starting as a young lawyer, I'm an ideologue. I believe in the justice system. I believe in people getting a fair shake, regardless of who they are. You know, judges take an oath of office. They're not to take into account personality, the rule in the law. And I saw, to make a long story short, that judges weren't doing that, that they had become politicians in robes. And that's why I created, in addition to my private practice, Judicial Watch at the time in 1994.
Right.
That's what the name means, watching judges. But I also used Judicial Watch to watch the other two branches of government, and not just watch, but the mission was to prosecute corruption and abuse in government and the legal system, which I did. And then in 2003, I ran for the U.S. Senate in Florida, my home state, and I didn't win. And I came out and started Freedom Watch. And Freedom Watch, the name was taken from West Wing, because West Wing, the drama about President Bartlett, who was a Clinton-type character,
Right.
had an individual that they would parody. It was Harry Claypool of Freedom Watch. It was really Larry Clayman of Judicial Watch. And, of course, Aaron Sorkin, who was the producer, is an ultra-leftist, so you can imagine my role on that TV show.
Yeah.
But I made it into the mainstream, Dennis, and, you know, I created enough havoc with the left in particular that they actually kind of deified me in that show. And that's why I took the name Freedom Watch after the Senate run in Florida. But I've been fighting hypocrisy and illegality and whatever. I was a Justice Department prosecutor, as you said. I was on the team that broke up AT&T during the Reagan administration. I believe in competition, and that kind of is a segue into what I've been doing with regard to the PGA Tour and DP World Tour and Golf Channel and the rest of the individuals and entities that are trying to restrain trade in the golf industry.
Yeah. On today's show, Larry, I want to primarily talk about the media, not just any media. Well, we could talk about the so-called mainstream media, but more specifically about the golf media. And I just, it's so hard to really put them. Well, you can put them in a category on one hand. You could put them in a lot of different categories, but why do you feel that certain reporters from let's talk about golf, certain golf organizations see things one way and somebody from another organization would see things another way and somehow converge, if you will, to either badmouth an organization, badmouth a person, write about all of these things that are falsities? How does a person get to that point with the responsibility that a reporter has to the American people, Larry?
Very good question. Actually, at Freedom Watch, we have a media task force where we seek to keep the media honest to the extent possible. Of course, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it's clicks. Clicks create viewership. Scandal, controversy, defamation creates money for these organizations. Now, if you're talking about the golf industry, I would say 99%, with the exception of you, Dennis, who's an honest person and plays it straight, have been co-opted by the PGA Tour. They get perks from the PGA Tour. They get access to professional golfers that they can interview. They have worked with the PGA Tour directly. They have become the mouthpieces of the PGA Tour. And they do it not just to get clicks, but they're doing it to destroy people like my client, Patrick Reed. And it's not just unfair, it's illegal. And that's why we have fought back, and we've brought a number of defamation lawsuits against commentators on the Golf Channel, most notably Randall Chambly and Eamon Lynch are two examples there. And of course, Shane Ryan, who really attempted to do a number way back when, Slaying the Tiger, and then comes with a new book where he republishes all kinds of false information about Patrick. And I've known Patrick now for quite a while. He's a good man. You know about him. His family are great people. And to me, and this gets back to your first question, when I see people that are lying, when I see people that are acting this way, it gets under my skin. I can't tolerate people lying. And that was long before I met Patrick and his wife, Justine. It gets under my skin. And so we brought these defamation cases with regard to Golf Channel and the commentators and Shane Ryan and people like that, Golf Week, Gannett. It's like a bunch of warlocks and witches. They're stirring a brew every single day to make money. And I brought a class action lawsuit in Palm Beach County on my own as a golf consumer, antitrust case, and the judge has ruled that will be going forward because I believe in competition. I believe that golf fans should be able to see the players that they want to see.
Right.
And by limiting competition, which is what the PGA Tour has been attempting to do along with the European Tour, which now is calling itself the DP World Tour, it raises prices to go into events because it lessens competition.
Right, exactly right. Do you think it's because, Larry, you take a certain reporter, whether they're, for lack of a better term, bad-mouthing sports, politics, certain companies or whatever, showing their bias, which becomes very evident. Do you think they're taking, is that an own personal opinion that they're writing about, or do you think they're taking marching orders from the organization that they're working for?
I think they're taking primarily marching orders from the PGA Tour, yes. It's very powerful. The PGA Tour brings in excess, I believe it's $1.8 billion a year.
Wow.
The commissioner of the PGA Tour, I don't know how he pulls this one off, being a nonprofit, a 501c6, draws $14 million. That's what we just know about from 990s.
Wow.
This is a very powerful organization that has a monopoly, and they don't want to lose their monopoly. And consequently, these reporters, excuse the French, suck up to Jay Monahan and the PGA Tour because they get stuff in exchange. They want to do interviews, they want to access it to him, to PGA Tour golfers, etc. And they've been raised basically as the children of the PGA Tour. So that's a lot of it. Then there's people like Eamon Lynch that have a personal grudge for whatever reason. Perhaps his own situation helps explain that. Or Randall Chambly, who I think is just, frankly, I think the guy needs some medical care. I mean, he's just out of control. and I think maybe the fact that he was a fourth-rate pro and won one tournament, he's very jealous of people like Patrick and others on the LIV Tour. Yeah. So I think that explains a lot of it.
I do too. I think they kind of do it to maybe possibly make up for their own shortcomings. Like you say, he wasn't a very good player. And he likes that kind of shtick. He gets some people, some fans that keep going, kill it, that type of thing. And it's just really, really bothersome for people that kind of know the truth. I met his wife, Bailey, at the PGA show that I just returned from, as you know, last week. Absolutely charming, and I almost felt like going up and going, Bailey, you seem like a wonderful girl. What woman? What do you see in this guy? Because he's getting hammered. And speaking about getting hammered, Larry, I think you'll agree, no matter who is getting hammered, whether it's Patrick Reed, whether it's this guy, whether it's that guy, to still play as well as they do. And Patrick is a great example of what he did last week in Dubai by just losing the tournament by a shot. You've got to have thick skin and still play as good as they do. That says a lot about somebody, doesn't it?
It does. Patrick knows who he is, okay? He has not had an easy time. You always have to have a villain that you create, because that's what creates the clicks, that's what creates the viewership, that's what creates the profit for Golf Channel. And Golf Channel, if you look at the chyron at the bottom of the screen, calls itself the home of the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, has called Golf Channel its partner. They have huge contracts between them. There's a lot of money there. They did not want the competition. And you now mentioned that CW Network is going to be carrying LIV, which is great.
Right.
And that really gets under their skin. And it's a thorn in their side because they don't want any competition. And as like I said, I'm an antitrust lawyer. I believe in competition. Competition creates a better product.
Right.
And of course, now that LIV came into existence, the pros that are still on the PGA Tour benefited from that with higher purses.
Totally.
With certain guaranteed money to appear, just like LIV. They become LIV light in many ways. And Phil Mickelson, who was widely criticized, said that. He said, one of the reasons I want to be on LIV is because I want there to be competition to the PGA Tour,
right,
which frankly has ripped off the players for decades.
Right, exactly right. And you know this, I was asked to do an interview yesterday with a national radio sports radio program out of San Francisco, and they wanted to talk about LIV specifically. And the host was a very, very charming guy, and he said, well, Dennis, what's your opinion on these guys have gotten tremendous amounts of money to go over to LIV, leave the PGA Tour. How competitive do you think they really want to be having all of this money? And I said, well, let me tell you about, I don't care how much money they got. These guys are playing professional golf for one reason and one reason only, and that is to win. They want to see the W's in their column no matter how much money they get. And that's the way they feel. Do you agree?
But of course, when you're playing for $4 million to win a tournament, you're trying really hard, believe me. And also money for the team wins.
Right.
Patrick's team, the Aces, won 5 out of 8 events this year. So you're not playing just for fun, for the love of the game. Sure, they love the game.
Sure.
I love the game. You love the game.
Yeah.
It's the greatest game ever devised, in my opinion. But in many ways, it's more competitive than the PGA Tour because more is at stake. And of course, they've tried to knock it down by saying, it's 54 holes instead of 72. Number one, there are tournaments on the PGA Tour that are 54 holes.
Right.
But number two, that means that every single round, you better be at your best. You don't have one round to be mediocre if you want to win.
Exactly. Great point.
That's a misnomer, and many others as well.
Yeah.
So it is highly competitive, and you're going to see it at Tucson, just how entertaining it is. It's really appealing to young people.
Yeah.
Patrick signs autographs for kids. He takes his shoe off sometimes and gives them away with his autograph. I mean, this is a really warm, nice person who has been maligned over the years. And like me, because, I've been a lightning rod with what I do because I've taken on the establishment, I can identify with that. And he is tough. But I'll tell you something. If they hadn't gone after him the way they go after him, continued obviously in Dubai, he would have won many more than 9 tournaments. In fact, he has won more than 9, but 9 PGA tournaments.
Right.
The guy would be well over 20 by now because it affects anybody,
Sure.
this kind of
Sure.
defamation and that kind of thing. And there have been threats against him. He has to have 2 security guards when he plays at LIV. I myself was with him at Doral, the last tournament of LIV, I think it was the 16th tee on the final day. And advertisements were being run. I believe they were financed by the PGA Tour, and we're going to be getting into that with certain 9/11 families that I have reason to believe, received compensation from the PGA Tour or an organization, Clout, that was set up, a PR firm. There were commercials running on Fox News, of all places, if you can believe it, that LIV players were taking blood money, that they were cavorting with terrorists, this and that. And sure enough, on the 16th hole, on the last day, there was a bomb threat, and we all had to seek cover. And at the time, President Trump and his son Eric were on the premise. I wrote to Fox News, and I said, you better pull those ads, which they ultimately did, because you're endangering the President of the United States as well, the ex-president and his family. And they pulled it. But this is what they're doing. They're whipping up hatred, not just against Patrick, but against LIV players. That's scaring away sponsors. It's done tremendous financial damage. And that's why we have a number of cases that we have brought to level the playing field and get some compensation here.
That's right, absolutely. And I've got a follow-up for you. What we're going to do, Larry, stay with us. We're going to step away and we're going to take a very short break. We come back, we're going to have a lot more with our special guest, attorney at law, Larry Clayman. Stay with us. We are coming back.
Are you an E or a C?
Both have Ridgeback.
These are loaded with tech.
Which one are you gaming? Definitely E for me.
It's just so forgiving.
I'm definitely an E.
C is for Cheka. What else?
C is for kill it.
C is me. Low spinning bombs.
So, are you an E or a C?
I don't know. Hey, wait a minute.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to more than 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, having a wonderful conversation with Mr. Larry Clayman, who probably everybody knows now, if you're into golf, is representing Patrick Reed in a number of actions. And we're talking a little inside baseball with him. Larry, I was just reminded that the National Press Club, who has about, 3,000 media members to it, find that it's terrible. It's terrible that Nexstar and the CW, they own the CW, is getting involved in LIV and helping them cover up the so-called blood money and all of this stuff. How stupid are these people, Larry? Tell me.
Well, they are stupid, and I've been a member actually for a long time, since I was a young lawyer. I just go there to eat. I cannot stand what goes on there in many ways. I've been critical, actually. Came to the point of almost suing them once because the building that they had created was so substandard. I started a tenants association. In any event, they were happy to let me leave, but let me out of my lease. But the funny thing is that this is Washington, D.C. This is the swamp. This is where people get destroyed for absolutely no reason. And I don't live in Washington, D.C. anymore for a good reason. I lived there for 20-some years. It is probably the most nasty, vile place in this country. And, people can go to Freedom Watch and see, I'm advocating declaring independence and creating a new nation, not a new government, not a new nation. I think we have to take the capital out of Washington, D.C. Maybe we'll put it in Las Vegas.
There you go. Perfect.
And we'll have some of the girls on Las Vegas Boulevard in our cabinet.
That's exactly. Oh boy, I could think of a couple of great cabinet positions for them. That would be great.
Good play on words, Dennis.
Larry, what's for our viewers? What's the true definition of antitrust, and what sets the precedence for it?
Well, antitrust arose, to give you a little quick history, with Teddy Roosevelt. He was the trust buster. and they put in the Sherman Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, these kinds of things. And it's to create competition. And by creating competition, you not only lower the price for consumers, but you create a better product. And that's what we did when we broke up AT&T. I was on the trial team going back to the Reagan administration. Is that's the reason you have all your cell phones today, because AT&T had a total monopoly. And the PGA Tour, I have an antitrust case in Florida right now. That's Freedom Watch. People can see that at freedomwatchusa.org. If you want to see about Patrick's cases, go to larryclayman.com. That's my law firm. But the PGA Tour could very well wind up getting broken up because I allege attempt to monopolize and monopolization. And they've been so blatant. You know, I'll give you a pun. You just made a pun. They're out of their league. They don't understand how it really works.
I like that.
You know, because so many years they have gotten away with this arrogance. And I got to tell you, what caused me to get involved, it was before I started representing Patrick. You know, I turned on Golf Channel one day, and there's Jay Monahan there, ridding his team, tremendously arrogant, saying this is an existential threat, effectively threatening to destroy LIV. And that got under my skin, and I said, you know, I got to put on my cape and get into this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I filed the lawsuit, and, you know, the Reeds saw what I was doing and asked me to help them. And it just is something I cannot stand injustice, which is, you know, why, quite apart from the Reeds, you know, I'm still fighting to keep government, I used to say honest, now I say less dishonest.
Yeah.
And, you know, it goes hand in hand. The way that Patrick is being treated, the way golf fans are being treated, is the same way the American people are being treated by, frankly, both political parties. One, you know, mostly socialist, communist, atheist. The other one has become a money-raising enterprise. And we really need a new system of government, not a new nation. We need to set something up again and go our own way, in my view. We did in 1776.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think that a lot of people still don't know, Larry, or are a little bit confused what's going on between the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour. They hear about the litigation. PGA Tour is being sued. They are suing LIV. LIV is suing them. They're a little bit baffled as to exactly what's going on. Can you streamline it and make it real simple? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Friday I'm going over to London, okay, for an arbitration, a company called Sports Resolutions, Inc. Patrick is one of the appellants of the various members of the DP World Tour. That's the European Tour.
Right.
Who were suspended and heavily fined because they played on some LIV events. Of course, DP World Tour players are allowed to play on the PGA Tour. They're independent contractors.
Right.
But yet being discriminated against and not being able to play on the LIV events and even some other tours that are affiliated with the PGA Tour, because the PGA Tour is buying up, in effect, other tours to monopolize. They've got these relationships, strategic alliances, not just with the European Tour, which they effectively own at this point. They pumped a lot of cash in. And also, you know, with other tours around the world.
Right.
So we are litigating whether or not these sanctions, these suspensions and fines, should go into effect. Now, they were temporarily stayed many months ago, which allowed the LIV players to play on these events. But when they go to these events, they're disparaged. They're prevented from getting, you know, any real meaningful TV coverage, which they need, you know, for sponsorships. They've been told they can't wear their LIV hats. Patrick, you know, has worn his LIV hat. You know, it's not a mandatory thing, but, you know, really persuaded not to. Not given transportation to the courses, you know, treated like third-class citizens of the European DP World Tour.
Yeah,
Again, it's one other thing. You know, and this is what's being litigated in London. Now, you have my case in Palm Beach. It's an antitrust case for golf fans and consumers. We've got our defamation cases against various media entities like Golf Channel and others. And then you have a case out there in California that was filed by the attorneys Gibson Dunn for LIV players initially, and then LIV came into that. And that case was assigned to a very biased judge by the name of Beth Labson Freeman, out there. I sat in on the temporary restraining order. And, she's just, frankly, bad news. And so we have all these other options, however, available to us. And I'm confident that we will prevail, because what has been going on are black letter, as lawyers say, violations of the Sherman Act, Section 1 and Section 2, and the Clayton Act, and in Florida, the Florida competition laws. It's clear as the nose on my face. My nose gets a little bigger as I get older, so maybe it's even more prominent. But it's a very, very, I think, open and shut case in the long run that we will prevail.
Yeah, and as you know, the PGA Tour is doing everything they can to dissuade players from jumping ship, so to speak. They've raised the purses. They want to entice these guys to stay because they are going to make more money, newer events, so on and so forth. And I keep saying, yet you are still going to see top players that are going to leave, and it's already started, leave the PGA Tour and go over to the LIV Tour. And it has started, and it's just going to be fascinating, Larry, where this ends up.
I don't have any inside information, but it's been out in the media in the last few days that Mito Pereira and Sebastian Munoz will be moving over to LIV.
Right, correct.
LIV will have almost a total hold of Latin American players with Joaquin Neiman, with Abraham Answer. They're great players. They're great people. And let me say another thing about LIV. The camaraderie at LIV, I've been to nearly every tournament except a few, is so good. These people really, these golfers enjoy each other. Yeah. They have a good time. They've been brought together by the adversity. Right. And per capita, LIV has more high-level players than the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour has become very diluted. Yeah. Turn it on recently, except for a few tournaments. You don't even know who you're watching anymore.
That is correct. That's a comment on social media. I don't like watching PGA Tour events because I don't recognize who the hell's on the leaderboard, so...
they're good players, but no one knows who they are.
But nobody knows who they are. Exactly. All right, Larry, stand by. We're going to take another short break and come back and finish up the show with you. And I think we're even going to talk, in this segment, should have something about Grindworks USA. We'll be right back. One of the perks about being in golf media is that I get to try every club ever made. Of course, like most things, some are better than others. I'm here to tell you that I have found unquestionably the absolute best performing set of irons I have ever played, and my scores show it. Let me introduce you to Grindworks, custom fitted irons that are made to fit your game. Grindworks offers players 3 different styles of irons. You can choose muscle back irons, cavity back irons, and even blades, along with some awesome wedges. And when you purchase your clubs, Grindworks lets you choose the type of shaft you want, the type grip you prefer, and even will adjust the loft and lie of your clubs if needed. That's unheard of. So what are you waiting for? Feel the power and experience and performance of these amazing clubs. Simply go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046 to order. Trust me, your handicap will love you for it.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, we are back with more, everybody, and I just wanted to throw this out to Larry, and he knows this young lady. I mentioned at the top, there's a wonderful young woman who is a golf influencer. Her name is Kira Peterson, known as Miss Kira to her hundreds of thousands of followers, and she just coincidentally happens to be a big fan of Patrick Reed's, as I am. And in all honesty, and I'm not throwing her under the bus on this, Larry, because I am going to give her credit, which I usually don't do because I usually steal it. But her idea was to start a fan club for Patrick Reed. And you know what we're going to call it? Patrick's Posse. What do you think of that?
I think it sounds great. I mean, run it by Patrick, but I think it sounds great. That's my personal opinion. You know, I got to tell you, when I go to live events, okay, I mean, people are so supportive. I've never heard a negative word. They go Captain America. Go do it. They love that Patrick is a fighter. In today's world, you have to be a fighter. You have to protect yourself, your family, and everybody around you. And that's a very unique thing. And, you know, he's not in La La Land. He knows the reality of what he faced today. And he happens also to have a tremendous golf swing. It's very compact.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've studied it. He will last a long time. A lot of these pro golfers, you know, they have flaws in their swings. Patrick has none.
Yeah.
You see, and when he was a professional, when he was a collegiate golfer, he beat everybody on his team and everybody else's team. He beat Rory McIlroy a couple times. Once at the Ryder Cup. That's why he got the moniker Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
He's fearless, and he's the one on the last day after the bomb threat sunk the putt that won the tournament, the team championship for Aces.
For the Aces.
And Aces is a very popular team there, not just having won 5 of 8, but you know, very special people, Dustin Johnson, Patrick, Pat Perez, who's got a lot. He's very colorful, and Taylor Gooch last year. This year it'll be Peter Uberlein, who's also a tremendous.
Yeah.
So I suspect they'll also be very, very successful this year.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. No, next time we have an opportunity to mention that, I just think it would be great. I think there would be so many people that would be, you know, interested in that. It's going to be it'd be incredible.
Well, it's catching on. Let me say one quick thing, Dennis. It's catching on. And I can see that in the comments on Twitter and elsewhere about the, you know, frankly, BS that went on at Dubai with regard to the tree.
Yeah.
You know,
Tree
so many people are seeing through what's going on at Golf Channel and otherwise. And they love Patrick for the fact that he'll fight back, you know, and very few people will in today's world. And, you know, I use a little humor sometimes to make a point, as I have here, but he's the real deal. He is the real deal.
Yeah, and people are saying, okay, enough with Patrick. Can't you find somebody else to pick on? Is he the only guy on the golf course that you want to pick on? There's other guys.
You have another show called Pick Your Politics. Maybe those people could have a show, Pick Your Nose. That might be more appropriate.
I like that. I like that. Anyway, I cannot wait to get down to Tucson. I know that you're going to be there. I cannot wait to get down there to meet some of the players, to see some great golf being played at a great venue at the Gallery. And then I'd be more than happy to come back and report what I have seen. And speaking of that, a lot of people have mentioned this to me, and they wonder if something is going on. They have 14 events this year. 3 of them are at Trump-owned clubs. Any connection between the former president and the LIV Tour, Larry?
Well, he rents his space, okay, and he's supportive, you know, because
Very
President
supportive.
Trump, at one time, President Trump had been supportive of the PGA Tour, and they stabbed him in the back, as many other people have.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a relationship with them anymore. And you know, as far as, let me say something about Saudi Arabia too. They're our ally, okay? And they supply our oil. They're very important to this country. To be constantly trashing them, and President Trump, I think, recognizes that is a huge, huge mistake. And they're coming into the 21st century. Things are more rights for women and this and that. You want to encourage that. You don't want to disparage people. And this is what we're dealing with. And I think Trump sees that. I haven't talked to him about that. That's just my perception. But come out to this event, you'll see Patrick. This is the segue to what you were talking about. He designed the Grindworks clubs with his wife, Justine.
Right.
And they are tremendous clubs. I have a set of them. They're better than Titleist. They're better than Mizuno.
Gorgeous.
They're better than Miura.
Gorgeous.
I mean, they are so soft and they're so good. I forget the name of the owner, but the Japanese make the best forgings. And this individual in Japan is like Mr. Miura, but he makes even better clubs than Miura. So I urge people to get them. You can get it at grindworks.com.
Interesting story how that happened, and I forgot the gentleman's name too, because there's a Grindworks in Japan, a Grindworks USA, that is Patrick's company, and like you say, they are absolutely magnificent clubs, and he got involved with that because when he blew off PXG, which other players have too. And by the way, Larry, did you know that PXG just came out with a golf ball?
No, I didn't know that. I mean, I know that they've been selling their clubs at fire sale prices.
Well, that's what's going to happen
But
to
I
the
guess
golf
they
ball.
bought-
Buy a
they
dozen
bought
golf balls of
tickets.
PXG for $500, and then you watch in a couple of months, they'll be $30 a dozen. But it's just,
we don't knock anybody else's product.
No.
Our product is so far superior. You've got to try it. It's unbelievable how good it is, and it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful iron on the market.
Gorgeous.
And they make woods too, and they make putters and that kind of thing.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, I know you're busy. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for the information, and always
bless.
great to have you on. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks there. And when you leave on your trip to London, the best of luck. You know that.
Thank you. I never make predictions. I'm a lawyer, but I feel confident, so I'm making a prediction. Let's see
good.
what happens.
That's good. All right. We will talk to you soon. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it.
God bless.
Larry Clayman, everybody. What a great guy, and just doing a lot of good. We're going to step away, one more quick break. Come back. We'll finish up the show. Be right back. Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scorers will love you for it. That's ONCORE Golf.com. Hi, I'm Dennis Overs, host of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, and I'm here to tell you about some great wedges and putters from Grindworks USA. First, the Grindworks Barrett Collection Wedge Set. These wedges are unparalleled in today's market. The wedges come to you in 3 different lofts, 51, 57, and 61 degrees, all designed to be able to spin around the greens with the ability to hit high, middle, or low shots around the greens. Grindworks also makes a line of their Windsor Wells precision machine putters. This beautiful design of putter was not only created to be appealing to the eye, but to perform better on the greens. You will gain a ton of confidence to help lower your scores. Go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046. I promise your scores will love you for it. Well, welcome back. We're about to close the show, and I'm thinking to myself, God, you've got beautiful, beautiful clubs from Grindworks. I have a set. They're fantastic. You could play Grindworks with the best balls in golf, and that's from Encore. Any one of their balls is absolutely fantastic. That'd be a great combination. I'm just thinking that. Anyway, we're going to have another great show for you next time we are on. We hope you get a chance to play some golf. We'll have Larry back on. Be real interesting to find out what happens at this hearing in London. That can change a hell of a lot of things for the world of golf. So we'll stay on top of that. Until then, fairways and greens, everybody, and we'll see you back again soon. So long.